bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum dun 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 bum ba-da-dum ba-dun dun 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 ba-dun dun 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 dun. Hello, my friends. Hello, I see from Ajax, Ontario. There you are. Every week is so wonderful to see you, Rona. So good to see everyone. Hi, happy Monday from Western Australia and Dana Point, California, and South Carolina, and Indianapolis. And those are my mighties. It's so nice to see you, mighties. I'm taking my bracelet off. It's making too much clacking sound. And so we also have people on X and YouTube and Facebook and Rumble. Yes, and Instagram even. So let's get everyone going tonight, shall we? If you don't mind, I like to say hello to everyone first in Wyoming and from Sharon Springs, New York, and hi from Ohio. Oh, it's so great. You should have sound. You all have sound, right? Sound is fine, says everyone. Sound is fine. Hi from Virginia, IA. And where else do we have people coming in from? Pennsylvania. Great to see you. Central New York. Here we go. Andiamo. My name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here. Oh, look at my painting here that's behind me here. It's hard to point to. It's Italy. Got a little crooked today when I was organizing my books. It's so nice to see you. It's every Monday night. My name is Joette Calabrese, and this is what we do every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And we do one thing and one thing only, and that is homeopathy. I teach you what I know. I love to share it. I want you to share it. I want you to bring your friends into this. I want you to be in it. I want you to embody this. I want you to collapse the amount of time it takes to learn this and learn it as fast as you can, because we don't know what's ahead, right? Are we going to get a stomach flu, a bug, so to speak? Are we going to eat something that's poisonous to us, some bad food? We don't know. We don't know what's forthcoming, do we? But that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So for those of you who don't know me, welcome. And for those who do, it's so nice to see you, my friends. All righty, Topeka, Dayton. It's so great to see everyone. So let's talk about it tonight. Let me ask you this. I want you to ponder it. Does it matter if we know what the cause of the vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, cramping, colic is all about? Do we need to know? I just want you to think about that. In other words, do we need to go to the hospital and get a test? Oh, must be the bug. How do we know it's the bug? Did you test for it? Well, no. Clinically, I like when they're discussing it clinically. We've seen a number of people come in with this condition. Does that mean that they caught it? Maybe they were all eating the same food. Maybe they're all living in the same weather conditions, right? Anybody have any technical difficulties? Let's see. No, everyone's doing fine. One person says a little bit of trouble. I'll get closer to the microphone. Sometimes that can be a problem. So, if we know what it is, the person ate bad chicken, the person ate bad meat, or had bad fish, or contaminated water, or unripe fruit, well, then we can say it's a food poisoning, right? But if we don't know that, the person just starts to get nauseous or vomits or nausea and vomiting or has diarrhea or cramping and colic, then we're going to use the same medicines pretty much for all of these potential originals. Or, that's the wrong way to put it. For all these potential causes. So the cause is somewhat valuable sometimes, but to be honest, what we're really looking at is we're looking at symptoms. We love symptoms. They are our gifts because symptoms don't lie. They are something that we need in order to determine what medicine to use. Now, if we happen to have some peripheral information, then that's good too, such as the person ate bad meat or whatever. Yeah, my computer fell. Alrighty, so it's kind of on a slippery slope here. I got it, thanks. Alrighty, so let's talk about them. The first medicine, talk about the medicines. The first medicine that I always think of when I think of food poisoning or stomach upset, not upset, but nausea, vomiting, burning, feeling very sick, my first go-to is arsenicum album. And I would hope that you would think of that too. You're right. Some people are already talking about nux vomica. Don't get too far ahead because we're going to talk about nux vomica. But arsenicum album is the medicine that we never leave the country without. If you're going to another country with microorganisms in the water or whatever, don't go without arsenicum album. It is an extremely important remedy. If you go to Mexico or the Caribbean or India or Africa, you definitely need to take arsenicum album with you. But you don't need to be in a world or an area that you're not accustomed to, the microorganisms with which you're not accustomed. It doesn't have to be that. It can happen in the local grocery store. It can happen just for no apparent reason at all. So arsenicum album is one of our best. The person often has anxiety associated with it. When they get really sick, they can get vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, burning. It's not a cramping. Usually it's a burning sensation in the stomach. It can be a burning sensation further down as well. Burning with vomiting. They're better from a little warm drink, but they can't drink a lot. They can't, even the smallest drink, they're just not into, they cannot drink a full gulp. It's a little sip. They're often chilly and anxious and often restless. What does restless mean? They go to the bathroom, then they get up, then they walk around, they go sit on the sofa. That's not good. No, they get up, they go to the chair. No, they get up again, they go outside, take a breath of fresh air. They can't seem to find comfort. No kidding. And so, but some people, even though they can't find comfort, are not as restless as people who need arsenicum album are. They can be weak and fearful, and they don't want to be left alone. So it's restless, weak, fearful, don't want to be left alone. Sometimes it feels like they're going to die. They feel like, oh my gosh, I'll never get through this. I am really sick. I feel poisoned. If someone says that I feel poisoned, my friends, the first remedy I want you to think of is arsenicum album. It's your first line of defense, especially when it is a food poisoning. If you know that it's food poisoning, this is the one I would think of first. Okay? The tiniest bit of food, it comes right back up again. There could also be diarrhea. I use it in a 30. I use it in a 200. Either one I think is very good. We would use it maybe every 15 minutes, especially if it's a 30th potency, every 15 minutes, say for 1 hour. And usually by the third dose, sometimes even only the second, sometimes even only the first dose, the person starts to feel some sort of relief. And as soon as you start feeling relief, when it comes to an acute condition, if we feel relief, we are going to back off a little and not use it as nearly as often. And once they start feeling relief, instead of every 15 minutes, we're going to back off and go to maybe every hour. But if they've fallen asleep, must you wake them up? No. If someone falls asleep when they're sick, when it's this kind of sickness, that's a good thing. Let them sleep. And when they wake up, if it comes back again, now you do it again. And then you know, okay, they've slept maybe an hour or two in between. Okay. And this is true not just for arsenicum. Every medicine I'm going to talk to you about tonight is going to be in the same vein, pretty much, except for the last one. The same vein being, give it about every 15 minutes for the first hour. If at any point the person is improved, then you back off and open up the space, taper off a little bit, open up that space between each dose, and then you can commence using these medicines every couple of hours, every 3 hours. If the person is much improved and they're better, we do not need to use the medicine any longer. We don't use a medicine that we don't need. Okay? If you don't know if it's from bad food and Nux vomica didn't work, could you try arsenicum 3 doses even if you don't feel poison? And no, I gave you the list. The list is burning pain, vomiting, anxiety, restlessness. You're looking for some of those conditions. You don't have to have all of them, but you're looking for all of them. So or not all of them, just because it's not necessarily from food poisoning, happens to be one of our best remedies for food poisoning. But listen to the differentials, what I'm saying here. It's one of our best medicines for food poisoning, but it doesn't say it's only for food poisoning. And my friends, when you make your decision, don't go by what I've just told you. Use this as your base information to kind of get you going and interested in this subject. But then go to your Materia Medica. Go to my Materia Medica. Go to Materia Medica that's online and read up on that medicine so you've really got it. Now, what I'm doing is I'm getting that information, that medicine, and focusing it on one situation, food poisoning / stomach flu, okay? Second medicine, okay? Let's get to the second one. Ipecac. Ipecac has nausea. It's relentless nausea, even after vomiting. Even after stooling, they still have nausea. Nothing relieves it. No matter what they do, they feel nauseous. Even immediately after vomiting, most people, after vomiting, they get a sense of relief, at least for a short period of time. Not so if they need Ipecac. And you'd think there would be thirst with all that vomiting, but there is no thirst or very little thirst. And it is a medicine that is also great for simply feeling nauseous. I've actually talked about it here. When I eat too much fat, and I have a tendency to do that because I love fats, and I think that fats are very nutritious, but sometimes I overdo it. And I'm talking about animal fats. And sometimes I overdo it. And when I do that, then the first sensation I get is nausea, and I simply take a dose of Ipecac 30. Now, I don't have to do it very often. I've kind of learned my lesson. I know my fill, so I don't do it so often anymore. But when I was doing it more, then I would use Ipecac 30. Not a 200, I would use a 30. And I often found that one dose would do it. Sometimes it took 2, but most of the time it was 1 dose would do it. Ipecac for pregnancy related to nausea? You bet. Especially if the picture is what I've just described to you. It's not that this is for this and that's for that. It's more, this is for this with these characteristics. Okay? That's why I want you to look at homeopathy in general. I found out that Ipecac 30 provided instant relief for a friend with severe panic attacks and stage fright nausea. Wow, interesting. Good story, Alice. Thank you very much. Let's see. Believe it or not, hi, Leanne. Second to arsenicum in the repertory. Next up is Carbo-Veg. Yes, you're right. Thank you. All right, but we're going to go to Nux vomica. People automatically think of Nux vomica when they think of stomach, gastrointestinal issues, and they're right. But I put it actually at number 3. Not that we have to wait until we get to that, because number 3 could be a very number 1 if the person is nauseous or vomiting or diarrhea or both, or all 3, and when it's related to having taken drugs. They've just come out of surgery and they're vomiting. They've got nausea. They have diarrhea. Nux vomica is a great medicine. If someone has taken drugs for it, doesn't have to be after surgery. It could be any time that someone has taken drugs and there's a drug reaction. We know pretty much that this is what's going on. Then we're going to think of that. It's substances, substance abuse. It can be also from drinking too much alcohol, from partying too late, from having the wrong foods, not food poisoning, but too much of a good thing. That is when we think of Nux vomica. But it's also a great medicine, my friends, for when somebody has nausea, vomiting, diarrhea in relationship to what they might consider a cold, whatever it might be. So the person is cold. There's a lot of retching. They can be very chilly. They can often be irritable. Leave me alone. Or they pick a fight. They won't leave others alone. There is, excessive retching. I think I'm going to keep that. I'm going to repeat that. Excessive retching. Absolutely so. And it feels as though if they could just vomit, just stool, they would feel improved. But alas, they often can't. They're constipated or they are unable to vomit. It's stuck in there. They have the sense as though they have to get whatever is in there out, and they have the feeling that if they could just do that, they would feel better. But that's not what's happening. They can't get it out. And that feeling of being stuck, that as though there's something in there that needs to be released and is simply not doing so, that's a call for Nux vomica, and I like that most often in a 30 or a 230, especially if there's constipation, and a 200 if it's an overall any of these things. So generally speaking, I like a 30 for this, especially for an acute. Here's a good question. Jan asks, what's the remedy for extreme fear of vomiting? Well, we're not talking necessarily about fear of vomiting, but I find there are two great medicines for that. There are actually more than that. But there are two medicines that come to mind. And the first one I think of is gelsemium in a 30. I find that has worked nicely for someone who's, when they're sick, they feel as though they know that they would feel better if they would just vomit, but they simply cannot bring themselves to allowing it to occur. Then I would think of gelsemium, and the other one is ipecac. All right. Irritable, picking fights, Nux vomica, excessive retching, feels as though if they could just vomit or stool, they'd feel improved, get whatever's in there out, feeling of being stuck. Yes, thank you very much, Megan. That is a beautiful consolidation of what I've just said. My friends, I'm going to ask you in the middle right now, if you would please remember to like and subscribe. It really makes a difference, especially given that I don't have a sponsor and we need this information to get out there. And the only way to do that is to get others, get the algorithms up. Please remember to do that. Like, subscribe, comment. We love it. All right. Next medicine. And this one is my favorite. This medicine has been so great in my life, but also for others, since I especially started using it in a very specific way. Remember what I said, arsenicum is arsenicum album. This one is also an album, and that helps you remember it a little bit. This is veratrum album. And so veratrum album is an exceptional medicine, particularly when it's mixed with another medicine. And that combination mixture, and I will tell you about it in a minute, is a Banerjee protocol that saved me at least twice when I was in India. I'm pretty sure I had amoebic dysentery, and I took veratrum album 200 mixed with cuprum 6. I took one dose, and it completely turned me around. I was not instantly well, but I was instantly relieved to the point where I felt like, okay, I feel somewhat human again. So veratrum album is copious vomiting, which is what I had when I was in India. That one of my trips, and there's a cold sweat, especially on the face. There's a cold sweat. The person is terribly exhausted, extremely weak. The person might even fall asleep between episodes of vomiting or diarrhea. And as I said, for me, it was amoebic dysentery. It feels like something's on my eye, so I'm going to keep checking that till I feel comfortable. In between running to the bathroom, although I don't know that I would call it running. I have to tell you that the person is so weak that they just camp out in front of the toilet because there's no other choice. So, and they're very cold. Cold sweat, copious vomiting, violent, excessive vomiting. And so, again, we would use it in the same fashion, but I have to tell you, the first time I used Veratrum Album 200 with Cuprum 6, I took one dose, and it made a big difference. And then I waited about half an hour, took a second dose. And my husband and I were actually leaving Calcutta to go back home. We had a flight to get to catch, and I was too sick to be able to make it. I said, I'm sorry, we're just going to have to lose that flight. It's very expensive to fly from Calcutta to New York. And I said, I'm sorry, I just can't move. There's nothing I can do. I'm too sick. I was too weak. I needed to be in front of right by a toilet. And one dose of that Veratrum Album Cuprum allowed me to feel as though at least I could perhaps get down to the lobby with my husband's help. I mean, I was really weak. And then once we got to the airport, we got a wheelchair. I know it sounds horrible, doesn't it? And then I took a second dose. And by the second dose, I was able to start moving on my own. Cuprum's all about spasms, right? That's why it works so well with Veratrum. So it's a good question, Chantel. I'm glad you asked. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I'm going to wrap this up with the one medicine that can work in specific situations, and then for many people, for all. So let's see what else we've got. A week ago or so, I woke up from dead sleep at midnight with nausea. I soon knew I would vomit and got up and did so. I got my arsenicum and took a dose and Cuprum 6 on the ready, then went back to sleep. That was the end of it. Isn't that gorgeous? Yes, it's really wonderful. The day before Thanksgiving, I had terrible pain in stomach with green diarrhea and blood. So I alternated between arsenicum 200 and Nux Vomica 200 every time I had to run back to the bathroom. And after of about 3 doses of each, I was able to sleep at bedtime and enjoy Thanksgiving. Wow. If you can enjoy Thanksgiving, that's really great. Do you dose yourself with cell salts afterwards? It's not a bad idea. Cell salts are a good idea, but I'm going to give you another idea. Let's see. Dang, just got home. Listen, if you just got home, you can watch this again. It'll be up tomorrow. I don't think it'll be up tonight, but it'll be up tomorrow. This stays on. When my 2-year-old daughter was vomiting and diarrhea and wiped out 1 dose of Veratrum Album in instant relief. I know. So what would you do if you didn't have this? You would be in an emergency room, my friends. Cuprum, C-U-P-R-U-M, Cuprum Metallicum. My friend's son was sick 10 days with stomach flu, really weak. I gave her arsenicum 3, something I heard Joette say. Next morning, he was up and went to school. Was blown away. Yeah, I know. It is, Tara. It does blow you away, doesn't it? You bet. Listen to you. Look at you all. Writing this all out. Veratrum Album. Arsenicum Album. Nux Vomica. Ipecac. Yes, these are all incredible medicines. Okay. My mom has been in the hospital and rehab after a fall. She's had nausea from the pain pills they are giving her. Twice I gave her Nux Vomica and 1 dose took care of both in both times. That's it. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Shelley. Nice job, Shelley. You just saved your mom from another drug because that's what would happen. This drug causes these side effects, so then they give another drug to cover that one, and then that causes other side effects, and then that one causes different side effects, and you just keep taking and taking and taking until you don't know who you are anymore. You don't know what you've had, you don't know who you are, and you have to detox for the next who knows how long. Yes, awful, isn't it? It's just that paradigm is outdated, my friends. That paradigm is it's a dinosaur that paradigm is, what's another word for it? It's poisonous. And I'm still thinking of another word. It'll come to me in a moment. That paradigm is being, people are catching on to it. That's enough. We've had enough of those kinds of drugs. We're now using medicines that correct the problem and don't allow further problems to arise. Primitive, that's the word I'm looking for. That paradigm is primitive, and I mean that in a negative way. I once packed Nux Vomica for a trip to New Orleans, but caught a stomach bug that helps me get through it. You bet. Antimonium crude also helped me with overdosing on party foods. You bet. Yes, antimonium crude can be. There are a lot of medicines. Listen, my friends, we could do this all night long practically. There are many medicines for stomach ailments. There are many for acutes like this. Many medicines for food poisoning, etc. But I wanted to give you a thumbnail picture so that you have an idea, so that you can move forward and do this on your own in a pinch. Yes, it is. This is a great topic, isn't it? Now let's see what else we've got here. Lots and lots of comments. All right, I'm going to give you my last medicine because we only have 4 minutes left. The last medicine is China officinalis. And I love this medicine in a 200. I also like it in a 6, but let's talk about using it in a 200. This is food poisoning, specifically from bad meat, or contaminated fruit, or bad water. It's what I talked about earlier. It's particularly good for bad water. What is bad water? Well, if you go camping and you think, well, this water looks good. It's a little babbling stream. And you might drink the water and then you get sick. What kind of sick? It's similar to arsenicum. Like I said earlier, it's for the same conditions. It's the bad food, the bad water, etc. So arsenicum album and China officinalis are similar in many ways. There is a dramatic fatigue. There's a loss of fluids, copious diarrhea, copious vomiting. And this is a medicine also along with China that you do not want to leave this country without, or any country. If you're living in the U.S. or Europe or Australia, etc., Canada, you travel to another part of the world that just has different microorganisms, you want these medicines on hand. And particularly if you only have 2 choices to take with you, which of course is ridiculous, you could take certainly a lot more, would be arsenicum album and China. And so this is what I would end this with. When we've had a good deal of fluid loss, such as from vomiting or diarrhea, or even from nursing, or from hemorrhaging, or from sweating, perspiring heavily, I want you to remember this medicine, China officinalis. It is particularly valuable for when there's a good amount of fluid loss. And in a stomach flu, or whatever, stomach bug, whatever we want to call it, whatever the reason is, we don't necessarily need to know, as I started out this evening with, or it's from bad food or bad water. If the body is purging, which is what it's supposed to do, I might add, and we're not suppressing it by using these medicines, we're just moving it along a little faster, but we are not suppressing symptoms. So it does need to get it out. And so as it's getting it out, you're losing the fluids and electrolytes. And so this is what I suggest. China, 200C, a couple doses after the whole event is over, so that you can then bring up your vitality again. Because after fluid loss, we have usually grand fatigue. And when you start eating and drinking again, and don't force the food doesn't matter. You can go days, you can go weeks, months without food, my friends. What you can't go without is water. So, fluids. I want you to make sure that you're thinking in terms of electrolytes in your water then. You can put bioplasma, homeopathic bioplasma, in your water. You can add another kind of electrolyte. Keto chow is one that some people use. I've used it myself.
put a good amount of true Celtic salt or Himalayan salt. Make sure it's the real thing. Don't get it from Walmart, my friends. Get it from a good source. Pink Himalayan salt. There are pink salts out there in which they put pink dye in them. Make sure you're getting quality. So a pinch of salt as an addition to your water, and start sipping and drinking and making sure that you're rehydrating afterwards. And then that fatigue that is naturally felt after a situation such as vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, perspiration, etc., that will flip it over and bring the balance back to where it should be. And so with that, my friends, God bless you all. It's been wonderful to see you. I'll see you next week, my friends. And if you are not a member of Joette's Mighty Members, you might want to do that. Or also, if you're not in a study group, I can't urge you enough, go to Joette's Learning Center and scroll down and get to Gateway to Homeopathy. Some folks on these forums are actually teaching these courses, so pay attention to them, and I will see you next week. Bye now. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, cali caponicum, let it melt on your gumbo, vista weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, cali caponicum, let it melt on your gumbo, vista weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.